Welcome to the channel for another exciting video. Most of the people watching our videos are not subscribed, so I kindly ask you to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new content. Your like is essential for YouTube to understand that this content is relevant, so please like, share, and leave your comment. Now let's get to the story. Marcos and Tiago met at a cozy cafe in the heart of Austin, Texas, where the old architecture blended with the new, reflecting the innovative spirit of the city. The aroma of fresh coffee filled the air, and the soft morning light illuminated the tables. Both were beaming, surrounded by notes and laptops, ready to discuss their latest passion, the startup, Eco-Future. Tiago, just imagine, Marcos began, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. We can create a real impact in the sustainability market. Think of all the companies that need help becoming more eco-friendly. We can be the bridge between them and the investors who want to make a difference. Tiago smiled, nodding in approval. Exactly. And not just that. We can educate people about the importance of a sustainable lifestyle. It's a golden opportunity. He paused, looking at the notebook where he was sketching ideas. Eco-Future won't just be a company, it will be a movement. The two friends spent hours discussing strategies, sharing ideas, and drawing up plans that, in their minds, were already promising. At that moment, their friendship felt unbreakable and the future bright. A few weeks later, Eco-Future was about to make its official launch in New York. The event was a spectacle, a classy space filled with investors, journalists, and sustainability enthusiasts. Marcos and Tiago were nervous but also excited. The place buzzed with anticipation. "Are you ready for this, you crazy guy?" Tiago asked, adjusting his tie as he looked at the audience beginning to gather. "Ready?" "I'm more than ready," Marcos replied, a nervous smile on his face. "I just hope our ideas resonate with them." As the night progressed, the presentations were made. Marcos and Tiago shone. They spoke with passion, explaining how Eco-Future could transform the environmental landscape. The audience was captivated, and the excitement grew. By the end of the event, many investors approached, showing interest in supporting the startup. In a historic cafe in Boston, weeks later, the duo celebrated their first profits. The walls of the place were adorned with old photographs, and the aroma of homemade cakes filled the air. "Marcos, this is amazing," Tiago exclaimed, raising a cup of coffee. "I never thought we would achieve this so quickly. Look at us," he said, with a sparkle of pride in his eyes. "Yeah, Tiago, this is just the beginning," Marcos replied, a wide smile on his face. "But we need to keep working hard. The goal is big and the road is long." "I agree. Let's make sure Eco-Future is a success. We can change the world, my friend." "Yes, together, we can make this happen," Marcos affirmed, feeling the energy of friendship and the shared dream. The two friends toasted, feeling more confident than ever. It was a moment of celebration and hope, where the future seemed promising. They believed they were just starting a journey that could impact not only their lives but also the lives of many people around the world. With determination in their hearts and unbreakable friendship, Marcos and Tiago were ready to face any challenge that might come their way. Marcos sat at his desk, surrounded by papers and reports that now seemed more like a mountain of frustrations than a symbol of success. The phone rang, interrupting his daydream. It was a call from the office in Chicago, but he hesitated. What else could go wrong? He picked up the phone, taking a deep breath before answering. "Marcos, we have a serious problem here," said the tense, hurried voice on the other end. It was Roger, one of the financial managers. "The creditors are at the door. They want to talk to you." Marcos felt his heart race. "What do you mean, at the door?" He stood up abruptly, his legs trembling under the weight of the reality unfolding before him. "They are demanding payments we don't have. The situation is unsustainable. We need you here now." He hung up, feeling a knot in his stomach. How had this happened? He remembered the night they celebrated their success in Boston, laughing and toasting to the promising future of Eco-Future. Now, everything felt like a nightmare. Tiago's betrayal not only destroyed their friendship, but was also about to end his dream. On the plane to Chicago, Marcos tried to mentally prepare for what was to come. He knew the company was in trouble, but he hadn't imagined the situation was so critical. Upon landing, he was greeted by a crowd of reporters and impatient creditors, all eager for answers. He had to be strong, but the image of Tiago fleeing to Miami still haunted him. "Marcus, what are you going to do?" a reporter asked, holding her recorder up to his face. "The company is about to go bankrupt. Do you have any statement to make?" He couldn't respond. He had no words. He just moved forward, pressing his temples with his fingers, as if he could ease the pain growing inside him. In the office, the tension was palpable. The creditors were gathered, their expressions hard and demanding. Roger approached, nervous. "They demand an immediate solution, Marcus. If we don't find a way to pay the debts, this ends here." "But how? We don't have any money," Marcus replied, frustration overflowing. "Tiago, he left me in the dark." "We need a plan, and fast," Roger insisted. "If not, they will take everything. The company, your reputation." The room was in a sepulchral silence, and the tension was becoming unbearable. Suddenly, the door opened and one of the creditors, a burly man with a disdainful expression, entered. "Marcus, we need to talk," he said, his voice carrying an authoritative tone. "Your time is up. Either you pay what you owe, or we will take drastic measures." Marcus felt a knot form in his throat. I'm working on it. Just give me a little more time." The man crossed his arms. "Time is something you don't have. Given the circumstances, we are ready to file for bankruptcy tomorrow." With those words, reality solidified. He was about to lose everything. With no more options, Marcus decided he needed to confront Tiago. He hadn't just betrayed Marcus's trust, but also compromised the dreams of so many people. Now Tiago was in Miami, far from the consequences of his actions. However, the search for Tiago was not easy. Marcus felt like a castaway adrift, with no map or boat to guide him. He remembered the promises made amidst laughter and hopes, now turned into distant echoes. Meanwhile, the meeting room began to empty, and the pressure on his shoulders grew. Hours passed as if they were days, and Marcus felt the weight of responsibility crush him. He needed to find a way out. But despair began to take over. What could he do? The light of the future seemed increasingly distant, almost fading away. Roger pulled him back to reality. "We need an alternative. Do you still have contacts? Any chance of getting a temporary loan?" "I don't know, Roger. I'm not sure if anyone still believes in us." He looked at the floor, anguish reflected on his face. The two were lost, unaware that the real battle was just beginning. Tiago's betrayal had not only crumbled their plans but had also left him on a dark and lonely path. The only thing left for Marcus was the determination not to give up, even when everything seemed lost. Marcus looked out the window of his small office, watching the busy streets of Chicago. The morning sun illuminated the city, but his heart still carried the weight of betrayal and the bankruptcy of EcoFuture. However, amidst the darkness, a new idea emerged: MicroAction. He wanted to make a difference, to help small entrepreneurs who, like him, faced financial challenges. Determined to put his idea into practice, Marcus began to work tirelessly. On a sunny morning, he organized a meeting in a local co-working space, where he planned to present MicroAction to potential investors. The room was full, and the murmur of conversations faded as he stood up to speak. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Marcus, and I am the founder of MicroAction. Today, I want to share with you an opportunity to positively impact the lives of small entrepreneurs, who often find themselves on the margins of the traditional financial system." He paused, feeling the audience's attention. "Our goal is to connect investors with those who have great ideas but struggle to obtain the necessary funding to realize them. With MicroAction, every contribution, no matter how small, can make a big difference." After the presentation, some investors approached excited about the proposal. Among them was Annie, a young entrepreneur who dreamed of launching her own line of eco-friendly cosmetics. Her eyes sparkled as she spoke about her idea. "Marcus," began Annie, with a voice full of enthusiasm, "I've always wanted to create a brand that is not only sustainable, but also empowers women. MicroAction is exactly what I need to take the first step. That's amazing, Annie. Marcus replied, feeling a wave of hope. I'm here to help you. Let's work together to make this dream a reality. From that meeting, a partnership began to form. Marcus became Annie's mentor, and together, they worked on the details of the business. The meetings were intense, full of brainstorming and creativity. Annie brought innovative ideas, and Marcus, with his experience, guided them on the way forward. Have you thought about the packaging? We need it to be as eco-friendly as the product, Marcus suggested in one of their meetings. Yes, I want the packaging to be made of recycled materials and to somehow tell the story of the product. Sustainability should be present in every detail, Annie replied, excited. Over time, MicroAction began to gain visibility. Entrepreneurs from various fields joined the platform, sharing their stories and challenges. Marcus felt revitalized as he saw the fruits of his labor. Each new project that emerged was proof that his idea was working. He remembered how he felt before when the dreams of eco-future crumbled, and now hope was reborn. One day, while reviewing some documents, Marcus received a message from an investor interested in supporting MicroAction. Hi, Marcus, I was impressed with what you're doing. I want to schedule a meeting to discuss how I can help, the message said. Marcus's heart raced. It was a sign that he was on the right path. With the growing popularity of the platform, a local news outlet decided to cover the story of MicroAction. Journalist Anna interviewed Marcus and Annie, capturing the essence of the project and the impact it was having on the community. Marcus, how do you feel seeing so many people being helped by your initiative? Anna asked, adjusting her microphone. It's gratifying, Marcus replied, with a smile. It's not just about entrepreneurship. It's about giving a chance to people who have dreams but are often overlooked. We are building a support network, and that's what truly matters. Annie, by his side, added, MicroAction is a reflection of what we can achieve when we come together. Each of us has a role to play, and together we can turn challenges into opportunities. As the report aired, Marcus felt a mix of emotions. He was far from where he started, but now he had a renewed sense of purpose. Watching Annie share her passion with the world, he realized that life, despite its challenges, still had much to offer. The journey of MicroAction was just beginning, and he was more than ready to face whatever came next. Marcos had gotten used to life without Tiago, but the quiet routine he had built at MicroAction was abruptly shaken when he learned of his friend's return. He was in his office, reviewing the latest progress reports from the platform, when the phone rang. The screen displayed a number he didn't recognize, but the voice on the other end was familiar. Marcos, it's Tiago. I need to talk to you. Marcos's heart raced. He hesitated for a moment before responding, his mind flooded with memories and conflicting feelings. Tiago? After everything that happened, you have the nerve to call me. I know I don't have the right to ask this, but I need to explain. I'm in Los Angeles and I would like to meet. Marcos closed his eyes, trying to contain the storm of emotions that consumed him. The betrayal was still fresh in his memory, like a wound that never healed. What do you have to say that I haven't already heard? You left me in the lurch, Tiago. I lost everything. I know. And that's why I need you to listen to me. I was manipulated, Marcos. It wasn't just about us and eco-future. There was more at stake. Marcos felt a pang of curiosity, but also skepticism. The idea that Tiago, his former friend and confidant, had been manipulated seemed like a convenient excuse. Manipulated? By whom? He asked, his voice trembling with anger and distrust. By Dr. Albertson. He had a plan, and I fell into the trap. I didn't want things to end this way. Marcos took a deep breath, remembering the mentor he had always idolized. Dr. Albertson, with his aura of wisdom and success, always seemed to have the best intentions. But what if Tiago was telling the truth? An internal conflict began to form within him, like a storm gathering on the horizon. And why should I believe you? After everything you did, how can I trust your words? Marcos replied, frustration in his voice mingling with a tinge of pain. Because I don't want you to think I'm just a traitor. I want to make things right. Please, give me a chance. Tiago insisted, his voice now laden with emotion. Marcos pondered for a moment. The idea of reconnecting with Tiago made him anxious, but there was a part of him that wanted to understand what had really happened. After a long silence, he finally relented. "All right, we can meet, but know that it won't be easy." The meeting was set for the next day at a discreet cafe in Los Angeles. When Marcos arrived, he saw Tiago sitting at a table in the back, nervously fidgeting with his hands. The air was heavy with unspoken expectation, and Marcos hesitated for a moment before approaching. "Tiago," he said, keeping a neutral expression, but his heart raced. "So, you really came back. I know this might seem like a low blow, but I'm not the same person I was. I want to make amends, even if that seems impossible," Tiago replied, looking into Marcos's eyes with sincerity. "What do you want me to do?" "Ignore the betrayal and the damage you caused," Marcos challenged, his tone firm. Tiago took a deep breath, as if weighing every word. "I want you to know that I wasn't acting of my own free will. Albertson manipulated me, and I didn't realize it until it was too late. I'm sorry for what happened." Marcos watched Tiago. The pain and guilt in his gaze were palpable, but trust was a fragile bridge, and he didn't know if he was ready to cross it again. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Tiago. The betrayal hurts. And now, I need to understand if you are truly remorseful or just seeking redemption for yourself." Tiago nodded, his expression showing that he understood the gravity of the situation. "I don't expect you to trust me right away, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make things right." Marcos felt the tension between them, a mix of anger and a desire for understanding. He knew the path to forgiveness and reconciliation would be long and full of challenges, but maybe, just maybe, there was a chance to redeem not only Tiago but also the friendship they once shared. Marcos was sitting in his office, surrounded by piles of documents and reports that seemed endless. The soft morning light filtered through the window, but his mind was shrouded in dark clouds. He had focused so much on building MicroAction and helping entrepreneurs realize their dreams that suddenly, the shadow of the past was haunting him again. Tyler's betrayal still weighed heavy on his heart, but now there was something more, a growing unease about the true nature of the manipulation that had led him to this situation. While reviewing some old emails, a message caught his attention. The sender was Dr. Albertson, his mentor and one of the early investors of EcoFuture. Marcos opened the email and began to read. The content revealed a message exchange between Albertson and other investors, discussing ways to undermine confidence in the company and divert funds to other projects. His heart raced. It was as if a light had been turned on in his mind. "This can't be true," he murmured, his voice barely audible amidst the silence of the office. "Albertson? He has always been my support." His thoughts were interrupted by a soft knock on the door. It was Annie, his partner and friend, with a look of concern on her face. "Hi, Marcus. Are you okay?" She entered, closing the door behind her. "You look like you've seen a ghost." He took a deep breath, trying to organize his thoughts. "Annie, you won't believe what I found. Look at this." He turned the computer screen towards her, showing the emails. Annie leaned in to read, her eyes widening as the words unfolded. "This is shocking. Do you think he was behind all of this? The manipulation? Tyler's betrayal?" "From what it looks like, yes. He was communicating with investors, trying to discredit our idea even before everything fell apart," Marcus replied, his voice heavy with disbelief. "I trusted him, Annie. He was like a father to me in the business world. Sometimes, the people we admire the most can be the ones who hurt us the most," Annie said, her expression serious. "You need to confront him. You can't let this go. What else might he be hiding?" "I know. But what about Tyler? What do I do with him now that he's back? He betrayed me too." Marcus sat down in his chair, the weight of the dilemma crushing him. It's such betrayal. So much manipulation. I don't know who to trust anymore. You need to do what's right, Marcus. Not just for yourself, but for everyone who believes in MicroAction. If Albertson is involved in this, he needs to be exposed. And maybe Tyler, maybe he can help if he really regrets it, Annie suggested, a tone of hope in her voice. Tyler. Marcus hesitated, recalling the moments they shared and the pain of betrayal. He may have been manipulated, but still, he let everything fall apart, and now he wants to come back as if nothing happened. That doesn't mean you should close the door forever. Forgiveness is complicated, but it's an important part of the healing process, Annie argued, placing her hand on Marcus's arm. First, focus on Albertson. Then, you can decide what to do about Tyler. He nodded slowly, feeling a mix of hope and anguish. You're right. I need to confront Albertson and find out the whole truth. I need to make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else. Then let's do it. Together, Annie said, with determination. Let's expose the truth and fight for justice, and not just for you, but for all the entrepreneurs who need a chance. Marcus looked at her, feeling a new surge of strength. Okay, let's do this. I can't let the manipulation go unanswered. He stood up, his heart beating with new determination. The past might be painful, but the future was still in his hands. Marcus was sitting in his makeshift office, surrounded by papers and reports from MicroAction. The sunlight filtered through the windows, creating a cozy atmosphere, but he could hardly appreciate the beauty of the day. His heart was heavy with the dilemma that consumed him. He knew he had to confront Albertson, but at the same time, he felt torn between the desire for justice and the need to forgive Tyler. Why did all this happen? He murmured to himself, running his hands through his hair. He remembered Tyler's betrayal, the pain he felt upon discovering that his best friend had diverted funds, leaving him alone to face the collapse of his dreams. Now, with Tyler's return, the wound seemed reopened, and the tumultuous memories tormented him. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. It was Annie, with her radiant smile and contagious energy. Hey, are you okay? She asked, noticing the dark expression on Marcus's face. I'm trying to understand all of this, he said, shaking his head in frustration. Tyler is back and I don't know how to deal with this. Part of me wants to forgive him, but the other part screams for me to push him out of my life. Annie sat in the opposite chair, watching him closely. Marcus, I'm not the one to tell you what to do, but you need to ask yourself what's most important to you right now. Is it your peace of mind or justice for the betrayal? I don't know. I built MicroAction to help people like us who have been left behind. But how can I be an example if I can't forgive? He replied, frustration evident in his voice. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, nor does it mean accepting what happened. It's about freeing yourself from the weight it represents in your life. What Tyler did was horrible, but you're also punishing yourself by not forgiving him. Annie explained, her voice soft, yet firm. But what if he's just trying to take advantage of me again? What if this is just manipulation? Marcus asked, doubt evident in his gaze. You don't have to decide that right now. Give yourself time to reflect. And remember, you're not alone. I'll be here to support you, no matter what you decide, Annie said, reaching out to touch his hand. The connection between them felt like a beacon in the storm Marcus was facing. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his uncertainties. I just want all of this to be over. To be able to look to the future without this burden, he confessed, his eyes misty. Annie smiled, encouraging him to continue. You've already done so much for MicroAction, for so many people. You are an example of resilience. And if forgiveness is part of your journey, then you should explore it. But do this for yourself, not for Tiago. He reflected on her words, questioning whether he was truly allowing himself to move forward. And what if I fail again? What if he disappoints me one more time, he wondered, insecurity evident in his voice. Failing is part of the learning process. And if that happens, you will have the chance to rise again. The important thing is that you don't close yourself off to new possibilities. You deserve to be happy, Marcus, Annie replied, her determination illuminating the room. The conversation between them flowed like a balm, but doubts still danced in Marcus's mind. He knew the decision was in his hands, but choosing between forgiveness and justice was a hard road. And even with Annie's support, the internal battle continued to haunt him as he pondered the impact of his choices on the future. Marcus was nervous as he entered the conference room at the investors' headquarters in San Francisco. The air was heavy with expectation. The investors were settling around the polished wooden table, their gazes alternating between him and Tyler, who stood by his side. The room was lit by large windows, but the sunlight seemed unable to penetrate the shadow that loomed over Marcus. "Thank you for coming," Marcus began, his voice slightly trembling. "Today, we are here to discuss some important issues regarding MicroAction and the recent destabilization attempts we have faced." He looked at the investors, trying to capture their attention. "We need to talk about what is really happening." Murmurs grew in the room, and he noticed the skeptical look of Dr. Albertson, his former mentor, sitting at the opposite end of the table. The man seemed relaxed, as if confident that nothing threatened him. Marcus swallowed hard, feeling as if he was about to enter a minefield. "Marcus, are you sure this is the best thing to do?" Tyler whispered, sensing his friend's hesitation. Marcus shook his head, determined. It was time to face the truth. "Yes, Tyler. It's now or never," he said before turning back to the investors. "I have gathered evidence that shows manipulations and dishonest actions that may have a significant impact on our company and the future of many entrepreneurs who depend on us." Dr. Albertson raised an eyebrow. "Evidence? That is a very serious accusation, Marcus. You need to be sure of what you are saying before tarnishing the reputation of someone with such responsibility. I am not tarnishing anyone's reputation without reason. I have emails showing that you, Dr. Albertson, were involved in actions aimed at sabotaging MicroAction and benefiting your own interests," Marcus replied, adrenaline pounding in his veins. A murmur swept through the room, and the investors began to lean forward, intrigued. Tyler, realizing the moment was critical, decided to intervene. "Wait a minute. I have been by Marcus's side throughout this journey. If he says he has evidence, I trust him. I also know that, back in the days of EcoFuture, something strange was happening behind the scenes. You can't take these accusations seriously, Tyler," Albertson said, his voice dripping with disdain. "You betrayed Marcus yourself. What do you have to say about that? Your word means little." Marcus felt a knot in his stomach at the provocation, but instead of letting it shake him, he took a deep breath and continued. "I am not here to discuss the past, but to clarify the present. What is at stake is the integrity of MicroAction and the future of many small entrepreneurs who believe we can make a difference." He then presented the evidence he had gathered, projecting the emails onto the large screen in the room. The messages were clear and damning, revealing conversations between Albertson and various stakeholders indicating a plan to discredit MicroAction and redirect investments to other initiatives he controlled. The silence in the room was palpable. "This is unacceptable," said one of the investors, a middle-aged man with glasses. "If this is true, we need to act." "Albertson, do you have anything to say?" "This is an attempt to destabilize a thriving project," Albertson replied, trying to maintain his composure. But the tension in his voice was evident. "These emails can be easily manipulated." Before he could continue, Tyler intervened once again. "Manipulated? Do you have any idea what really happened? Marcus faced all this alone. He has always been willing to help others, even after his betrayal. Look at what he has built." The room began to heat up, and distrust toward Albertson grew. Marcus, feeling Tyler's support, decided it was time to press even harder. "Dr. Albertson, you can try to defend yourself, but the truth is already exposed. What you did affects not just me or Tyler, but everyone who believes in MicroAction. You cannot escape this." The tension erupted when one of the investors abruptly stood up. "We need an immediate investigation into this. If Marcus's allegations are true, we cannot associate our names with someone who acts so dishonestly." Albertson was left speechless, his mask of confidence beginning to crack. Marcus felt a mix of relief and anxiety. He knew the battle was far from over, but at that moment, the truth was finally being revealed. The conference room was in complete turmoil. The revelation of Dr. Albertson's manipulation had spread like wildfire. Marcus's words echoed in the minds of the investors and entrepreneurs who had gathered to discuss the future of MicroAction. The atmosphere was tense, and murmurs of outrage intensified as the evidence was presented. "I can't believe he did this." Sarah, an investor who had bet her savings on MicroAction, shook her head in disbelief. Albertson seemed so trustworthy. How could we have been so naive? That's what ambition does to people, a colleague retorted, his voice choked. He was just using us as pawns in his game. Marcus, standing in front of the large screen displaying the incriminating emails, felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He had dedicated years of his life to building something that not only helped him rise again, but also served others. Albertson's betrayal threatened not only his vision, but also jeopardized the dreams of so many small entrepreneurs who now depended on MicroAction. "Look at this," Marcus said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Here is the proof that Albertson manipulated not just my past, but the future of all of us. He not only embezzled funds but also tried to bring down our platform to benefit his own interests." The images of the emails glowed on the screen. Cruel phrases, treacherous alliances, and a meticulously constructed plan. The investors began to stir. The murmurs turned into exclamations of anger. "This is unacceptable," shouted an older investor, his face red with indignation. "This man should be held accountable for his actions." At that moment, Tyler, who had remained silent until now, stood up. His gaze was fixed on Marcus, expressing a mix of regret and determination. "I know I don't have the right to speak here, but we need to unite. Albertson cannot go unpunished. I was deceived too, and I want to help fix this." The room fell silent. Marcus saw Tyler's courage emerge, and a wave of hope began to spread among those present. It was evident that many still had doubts about Tyler's sincerity, but his willingness to act was a sign that he was ready to redeem himself. "If you are truly willing to help, then we need you," Marcus replied, his tone softer. "We need everyone together to expose the truth and restore the trust that has been shaken." "I am here for that," Tyler stated firmly. "Let's show everyone that MicroAction is more than just a platform. It's a community, and we are in this together." The tension in the room began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of purpose. The entrepreneurs who had benefited from MicroAction began to speak up, one by one, sharing how the platform had changed their lives. "I am a living example that MicroAction works," Annie said, her voice emotional. "It gave me the chance I needed to start my business, and now I am helping other women empower themselves. We cannot let one man's greed destroy this." Annie's words resonated in the room, and the investors began to unite in support. One by one, they raised their hands, committing to continue supporting MicroAction and fighting against Albertson's manipulation. "We are with you," declared Sarah. "Let's do this together." The room was now filled with a spirit of unity. The collective indignation against Albertson's betrayal transformed into a renewed momentum to fight for the truth. Eyes met, and a new purpose formed. Marcus, Tyler, and Annie were ready to face the challenge ahead, determined to expose the corruption that threatened not only MicroAction, but the future of all entrepreneurs dreaming of making a difference in the world. The lights in the room reflected a new dawn, where the truth had found its way, and the fight for justice was just beginning. Marcus was alone in his office, the morning light filtering through the windows, illuminating the room that, once filled with dreams and plans for eco-future, now reflected a new beginning. The desk was covered with papers and reports from MicroAction, but his gaze was distant, lost in thought. He couldn't shake the image of Tyler, the friend who had betrayed his trust but now seemed to be seeking redemption. "Why is it so hard?" he murmured to himself, running a hand through his hair. The memory of how much they had dreamed together tormented him. What would have happened if Tyler hadn't run away? If the betrayal had never occurred? He sighed, frustration mingling with a sense of uncertainty. That morning, Tyler had reached out to him. The conversation had been a whirlwind of emotions. Marcus wasn't sure if he wanted to hear what he had to say, but at the same time, a part of him longed to understand what had happened. Tyler was different, more mature, perhaps a bit more humble. He had requested a meeting at a nearby cafe, one of the places they used to gather to discuss their ideas. "Marcus, please listen to me," Tyler began, his voice trembling. He seemed nervous, his hands restless on the table. "I know I don't have the right to ask this, but I needed to come to you. After everything that happened, I realize how blind I was." Marcus looked at him, his heart tight. "Blind or manipulated, you had choices, Tyler, and you chose to betray me. I know, I know I was wrong. But the truth is, I was manipulated by Albertson. He promised me everything would be fine, that I could fix things. But I didn't see what was really happening. I am not that guy. I let myself get carried away, Tyler confessed, his eyes filled with regret. And why should I believe you now? Marcus questioned, the pain still throbbing in his chest. You left me in the worst position. I lost everything because of your betrayal. Because I am willing to help you rebuild EcoFuture. I want to repair what I did, Marcus. Please, give me a chance. I know I can't erase the past, but I can try to do what's right now, Tyler pleaded, the sincerity in his voice almost reaching Marcus. He felt torn. The pain of betrayal was still strong. But there was a new perspective before him. What if you're lying? What if this is just another one of your maneuvers? I understand your distrust. But I promise, this time I am committed. We can work together to expose Albertson, to clear our names. I don't want to live in the shadows of what I did anymore. I want to be someone you can trust again, Tyler said, his voice firm. Marcus took a deep breath, his thoughts swirling. It was a difficult choice. The pain of losing a friend and partner was intense, but the idea of giving Tyler a second chance also sparked a glimmer of hope. Are you willing to prove that to me, to show that you really want to change? Yes, I am. I'm ready to fight by your side, Tyler replied, determination in his eyes. After a long silence, Marcus finally spoke. I can't promise it will be easy, Tyler. But maybe, just maybe, we can try. Forgiveness won't be automatic, but it's starting to seem like working together might be the only way to move forward. Thank you, Marcus. I won't disappoint you again. This is my commitment, Tyler said, a shy smile appearing on his face. As they both stood up to leave the cafe, Marcus felt a mix of hope and caution. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, but he knew that the first step would be facing the past together. Forgiveness, though difficult, could be the key to true redemption, not just for Tyler, but for himself as well. Marcus and Tyler were excited as they prepared for the fundraising event in Seattle. The chosen venue was an elegant convention center, with glass walls letting in the soft light of the setting sun. The atmosphere was decorated with plants and sustainable elements, representing the essence of the new EcoFuture. They had invited friends, investors, and small entrepreneurs who had benefited from MicroAction. The anticipation in the air was palpable. Do you think everything will go well? Tyler asked, adjusting his tie as he watched the guests mingle. Of course, Marcus replied, his voice filled with confidence. People believe in us now. After everything that has happened, they want to see a better and sustainable future, and we have to show that we are capable of doing this together. Annie, who was organizing the final details, approached the two. Remember, the most important thing is the message we are conveying. It's not just about raising money, but about inspiring others to join our cause, she said, a sparkle in her eyes. The event began, and the room soon filled with smiles and animated conversations. Marcus took the stage, his heart racing but determined. He began to speak about the importance of sustainability and the potential that EcoFuture had to transform the market. We are here to show that, even after betrayal and disillusionment, we can rise again and create something beautiful and meaningful. Together, we have the opportunity to change the world. The audience applauded, and the energy in the room intensified. After the presentation, Tyler joined Marcus on stage. I know many of you have doubts about me, about what I did in the past, but today, I am here to apologize and to redeem myself. We all make mistakes, but it is in the difficulties that we find the strength to rise. And I want to be part of this journey, he said, the sincerity in his words echoing in the room. People began to approach, asking questions and offering support. Among the guests, a man in a dark suit and sunglasses stood out. He approached the stage and crawled with a mysterious smile, said, I'm David, and I've heard about MicroAction. I'm impressed with what you're doing. I would like to meet with you after the event. Marcus and Tyler exchanged surprised and excited glances. Of course, it would be a pleasure, Marcus replied, barely able to contain his emotion. The event continued, and by the end, The audience was more engaged than ever. Promises of financial support began to emerge, and the atmosphere of hope was contagious. Marcus and Tyler were exhausted, but happy. Annie joined them, a wide smile on her face. "You were amazing." "What David said sounds promising," she said. "Excited?" "Yes, he seems like someone who can make a difference," Tyler replied. After the event, David approached them again, now with a more serious demeanor. "Marcus, Tyler, I truly admire what you're doing. I believe EcoFuture has enormous potential. I'm willing to invest a substantial amount, but I want to be an active part of this project. I believe that together we can turn this into something even bigger." "That would be incredible," Marcus said, emotion showing in his voice. "We are looking for investors who share our vision." "Then, let's work on this," David asserted, extending his hand. "I want to see EcoFuture thrive." In the following weeks, the partnership with David solidified. Funding began to flow, and Marcus and Tyler's ideas came to life. They met frequently, discussing plans and strategies, always with Annie by their side, contributing her creative vision. The story ends with the three of them at an outdoor cafe surrounded by plants and flowers. The sun slowly set, painting the sky orange and pink. They toasted with their coffee cups, "To the new EcoFuture and our journey together," Marcus said, smiling. "To overcoming challenges and friendship," Tyler added, his eyes shining with hope. "To the future we are building," Annie said, raising her cup. And so, united by experience, by overcoming challenges and by the certainty that they can transform the world, they toasted to a new beginning, ready to face the challenges ahead. But now, together. So, what did you think of this story? Your opinion is essential for us to improve our content. Write what you thought in the comments and remember to subscribe and like this video. Thank you for your attention, and see you in the next video.